On your mat, get set, go. So I would like to congratulate you guys first for reaching this part of the video series. So now we'll be moving on to the post-test discussion part, and this is the first part of the video series, and we hope that you are now ready to answer this post-test. So let's move on to the first item. So the first item states that 16 raised to negative 3 over 4 is equal to which among these choices? So we have here 16 raised to negative 3 over 4. Oh, we have to find which among these numbers is equivalent or equal to 16 raised to negative 3 over 4. What we can do here is we use the fact that 16 is actually equal to 2 raised to the power of 4. And by substituting that, we get that 16 raised to negative 3 over 4 is equals to 2 raised to 4 raised to negative 3 over 4. And now we recall the laws of exponents that when you have a power raised to another power, we get that it's just the product of the powers. So we get that this just equals to 2 raised to 4 times the negative 3 over 4. And we get that this is just equal to 2 raised to negative 3. And also, by the laws of exponents, if we have negative exponents, it's just equal to 1 over the reciprocal of that power. So we have here 1 over 2 cubed, which is equals to 1 over 8. So the answer to this problem is letter C, 1 over 8. Let's move on to the second question. For the second question, the quotient of 62.5 and 0.25 is which among these? So essentially, we're going to divide 62.5 by 0.25. So what we can do here is we use the fact that 0.25 is actually equal to 1 over 4 as a fraction. So it's easier to handle fractions in this. So since we are dividing 62.5 by a fraction, 1/4, is the same as multiplying it by the reciprocal of the fraction, which is equals to 62.5 times the reciprocal of this 1/4, which is equals to 1 over 1/4, which is equals to uh, the reciprocal, which is 4. So we multiply this by 4 essentially. And now this is easy since we're multiplying by 4. So if it's not yet obvious right now, so we can multiply it first by 2. So we get that 125 times 2. Then we multiply this again by 2, which is equal to 250. So we get that the quotient of 62.5 and 0.25 is letter D, 250. Let's move on to the third part. So the question is simplify this expression. So we have 5 over 6 times 15 over 8 all over 3 over 2. So what we can do here is we simplify first the numerator part. So let's see what we can do. So we want to multiply this. So we are going to use the cancellation loss. So recall that we can only cancel if we have common factors in the numerator and the denominator of these fractions. So recall that 6 is equals to 2 times 3. So essentially 6 is 2 times 3. So let's replace 6 with 2 times 3. And 15 is equals to 3 times 5. So we can cancel 3 here since one is in the denominator, one is in the numerator. So this will just cancel out. So this is actually equal to, So other than that, we cannot cancel other things because 5 is in the numerator and 5 is also in the numerator. So we cannot cancel them. So we get 25 over 16. And then we're going to divide this by 3 over 2. But recall that when you divide by two fractions, it's just the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we multiply this by the reciprocal of 3 over 2, which is 2/3, which is now, we can use again the cancellation law. So 16 is actually 2 times 8. So we cancel 2 here since it's in the numerator, in the denominator. So we get this 25 times 1. And the denominator is 8 times 3, which is equals to 24. So our answer is 25 over 24. Let's move on to number 4. Evaluate 5 square root of 2 minus 9 square root of 8 plus 6 square root of 32. So first, let's observe square root of 8, which is equals to square root of 4 times 2. Therefore, by the property of square roots, this is equal to square root of 4 times square root of 2. And we know that square root of 4 is just 2 times square root of 2. Now let's move on to square root of 60. Square root of 32 rather, which is now equal to square root of 16 times 2, which is by the property of square root is equals to square root of 16 times square root of 2, which is equals to 4 square root of 2. Using this fact, we can substitute it here, which is now equal to 5 square root of 2 minus 9 times 2 square root of 2 plus 6 times 4 square root of 2. Which will then be equal to 5 square root of 2 minus 18 square root of 2 plus 24 square root of 2. And now, we can factor out square root of 2 rather. So we have 5 minus 18 plus 24 square root of 2. Which will then be equal to negative 5 minus 18 is negative 13 plus 24, we have 11 square root of 2. So our answer is letter B, 11 square root of 2. Now let's move on to the number 5. So we wish to find what 15 squared over 6 is. So let's recall that 15 is equal to 3 times 5. So this is squared. And 6 is 2 times 3. So by the property of loss of exponents is equal to 3 squared times 5 squared. The denominator is still 2 times 3. So again, by the property of loss of exponent, we can actually cancel this. So but instead of canceling them by dividing, we cancel them by subtracting. So 2 here, since we have 2 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator, we are left with 1 in the numerator. So essentially, these are all equal to 3 times 5 squared, which is 3 times 25, which is 75, all over 2. And in decimal form, this is 37.5. Hence, our answer is letter D, 37.5. Let's move on to the number 6. So a person travels 24 miles at 6 miles per hour and 20 miles at 10 miles per hour and 20 miles at 5 miles per hour. So what is the person's average rate for the complete distance? So first, let's take the time that it took for the person to travel. So if the person traveled 24 miles at 6 miles an hour, it means that, so we have the magic triangle here. So we have the rate here, distance, and time. So if we're looking for the time, then it's equals to distance divided by the rate. So the time here is distance 24 divided by the rate 6. So we have 4 hours. Next, 20 miles 20 miles at 10 miles per hour. So we can compute that we have 20 divided by 10, which is equals to 2 hours. And lastly, we have 20 miles at 5 miles an hour. And we get that 20 divided by 5 is equals to 4 hours. So in total, it took the person 10 hours. Okay, so now we add up all the distances. So the complete distance is equal to 20 plus 20 plus 24, which is equal to 64 miles. So the average rate of the person is equal to the total distance traveled, which is 64 miles, divided by the total time, which is 10 hours. Therefore, if we divide this, we get 6.4 miles per hour, which is equal to letter A. Next, let's move on to number 7. So Andy's age is half Erin's age. If the sum of their ages at present is 42, how old is Erin? So essentially, we can express A as Andy and E as Erin's age initially. So the relationship between A and E, so let's Andy's age and Erin's age. So Andy's age is equals to half of Erin's age. So A is equals to 1 half E. And we know that from the second condition, A plus E is equals to 42. So we can just substitute the value of A here to the second equation. So we get that 1 half E plus E is equals to 42. So for easier manipulation, we can multiply both sides of the equation by 2. So what we're left here is E plus 2E is equals to 84. And then we have 3E is equals to 84. And then solving for E, so we divide this by 3, so we have 28. So we have solved for E, which is the age of Erin. So the answer is letter D, 28 years old. Now let's move on to number 8. Joss can chop a huge pile of logs into firewood in 5 hours, while Lance can do the same task in 3 hours. If they work together, how long would they finish the task? Okay, so the trick for this kind of problem is we check first what is the rate of uh, each person. For example, the rate of Josh and the rate of Lance. So we know that you can chop pile of logs in 5 hours. So in an hour, uh, it can only chop 1 over 5. It can do the job in 1 over 5 per hour. 1 over 5 of the job per hour. And then, while Lance can do the same in just 3 hours. So, essentially, Lance can do 1/3 of the job per hour. So, when they work together, essentially their rates combine. So, we add up their rates. And it means that 1/5 plus 1/3, which is equals to over 15, is 3 over 15 plus 5 over 15, which is equals to 8 over 15. It means that when both of them work together, they can do 8 over 15 of the job. So essentially, we just take the reciprocal of this, since the whole job would take them the reciprocal, which is equals to just 15 over 8 hours. Okay, but we want this to be converted in some way equivalent to one of these answers. So 15 over 8 is actually equal to 1 and 7 over 8. And as you can see, the closest to our answer is letter A, 1.9 hours. Although it's not the exact answer entirely. So recall again, the rate of Josh is 1/5 of the task per hour, and the rate of Lance is 1/3 of the task per hour. So the combined rate is 8 over 15 of the task per hour. And essentially, when you take the reciprocal of that, we get that it should be 15 over 8 hours. So we can actually have this none of the above if we're being technical. Okay. This is not equal to 1.9. Let's move on to the next number. So you are tasked to prepare a 20% alcohol solution, but you only have 500 ml of 70% alcohol. How much water should you add to reach the desired concentration? So okay, let's model this in boxes. So what I have right now is 500 ml of 70% solution of alcohol, and I have here water of certain X ml, and I want this to result in a 20% solution of alcohol, and we have here a total volume of 500 plus X ml. So let's just solve this equation. So we multiply 500 by 70. So we can actually drop the percent since they all have the percent. And plus X times 0 which will now be equal to 500 plus X times 20. Then we're going to solve for X. So we have here 500 times 70. So we can divide both sides by 20. So we have here 1 over 20. And essentially, X is equals to, so we can, 20 is equals to 2 times 10. So we can cancel the 10 here, and this is just 7. And this is just 250. Essentially, as X is just 7 times 250 minus 500. So let's multiply this out. So we have 0, 5, and we have 7 minus 500. Then we're left with 1250 ml. So this is the amount of water that you should add in order to achieve the desired concentration. Next, let's move on to number 10. So the smaller of the two numbers is 5 less than the bigger number. If their sum is equal to thrice the value of the smaller number, what is the smaller number? So let us have some variable here. So let the smaller number be x, and okay, so it's not a good idea. So since the value of the smaller is dependent on the bigger, so us uh, let x be the bigger number rather. So if x is the bigger number, then the smaller number is x minus 5, since it is 5 less than the bigger number. So it says here that their sum is twice the value of the smaller number. So the sum, which is x plus x minus 5, is equals to thrice the smaller number. So we just have to solve this equation essentially. So we have 2x minus 5 is equals to 3x minus 15. And solving this, we have by transposing. So we have 15 minus 5 is equals to 3x minus 2x. Then we get that 10 is equals to x, or but we want the smaller number. This is the bigger number, so x minus 5, which is the smaller number, is equals to 5. So the smaller number is 5, letter B. Let's move on to the number 11. So we have here A, B, and C. So let's have this. So the set A contains 1.5, 2.3, 5, 6.7, 9.2, and the set B contains the elements 2.3, 2.5, 5, and 9, and C contains the elements 2.3, 5, 6.7, 9.2, 10, and 30. So what we want is to find the set which is the intersection of the three sets. So since it is an intersection, so essentially we just want to find the common elements on all the three. So first, let's check if 1.5 is present on. So we can just pick any set among the three. So actually, we can pick the least one. So B contains the least elements. So let's check for B. So is 2.3 present on other sets? So we have 2.3 indeed on other sets. Is 2.5 present on any of the two sets? So it is not present on A. So we have to note that. What about 5? So 5 is present on A, and 5 is also present on C. And 9 is not present on A, and is not also present on C, as you can see here. It's only 9 point. So the intersection of A, B, and C is actually the set containing 2.3 and 5, which is letter B. Let's move on to number 12. So we have here x's. So we just need to use our factoring special product rules. So we have x minus 3, x plus 7, which is equals to x plus 3 times x minus 1. So we cannot divide anything because none of which are the same. So we can expand this using our special products. So this is a product of binomial. So we have x squared plus 7x minus 3x minus 21, which is equals to x squared minus x plus 3x minus 3. Alternatively, you can use the FOIL method, but you will just get the same. So x squared is going to cancel out. So what we're left here is 4x minus 21, which is equal to 2x minus 3. And we get that 4x, we isolate those with variables. and we get 21 minus 3 on the other side. This will become 2x is equals to 18. This will imply that x is equals to 9 because when we divide by 2, we get this. So the value of x here is letter D, which is 9. Okay, so these are x and y's. Okay, so we have to simplify 3xy raised to 5 squared minus 11x squared y squared times 4y raised to 4 squared. So let's just use the rules of exponentiation and laws of exponents. So we have 3xy raised to 5 squared. This will actually be equal to 9x squared y raised to 10. So let's move on to the next term. So we have 11x squared negative 11x squared y squared times 4y raised to 4 squared, which will be equal to negative 11x squared y squared. And when you square this, we have 16y raised to 8. And this will be equal to negative 11 x squared y raised to 10 and times 16. Total 16 times negative 11 is negative 176 x squared y raised to 10. So when we add these two, we'll get 9 x squared y raised to 10 minus 176 x squared y raised to 10, which will give us negative 167 x squared y raised to 10. So there should be negative here. So our answer is letter C. Okay, so let's move on. Find the range of the following function. So we have here f of. So let's move on to number 14. So we have f of x is equals to square root of 9 minus x squared. And we're tasked to find the range of the following function. So first what we do is we find the domain first of this function. So the domain is the values of x that defined values of x. So note that 9 minus the domain of a squared function should be the inner function should be greater than or equal to 0. So we have 9 minus x squared should be greater than or equal to 0. And this implies that we can multiply both sides by negative sign, and the symbol will be reversed. So we have x squared minus 9 is less than or equal to 0. And by factoring, we have x plus 3 and x minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So the critical values, we have critical values is negative 3 and 3. And since it's less than, so we have x is greater than or equal to negative 3, but less than or equal to 3. What is the domain? The domain is the set of x values such that x is greater than or equal to negative 3, but less than or equal to negative 3. However, when we substitute this here, so we have values of x only between negative 3 and 3. So note that 9 minus x squared, so this will become 0 at negative 3 since 9 minus also the same as when this is 3. So actually, this function will able to attain its maximum value when x is equals to 0, the midway between these two, and it will become uh, 9 minus 0 squared, which is equals to 9, and square root of that is equals to 3. So essentially, our values of y was just between 0 and 3. So we have here this set from 0 to 3 as our range of x. So letter B. Actually 2x minus 1. So some of the variables did not load. So what is the inverse of the following function? So to get the inverse, we substitute f of x with y, and then we swap the roles. So we want x to be the y and y to be the x. And then we solve for y. So solving for y, we get uh, x plus 1 is equals to 2y. And then we get that y is equals to x plus 1 over 2. So our inverse function is f of x is equals to x plus 1 all over 2, which is letter B, x plus 1 over 2. That will be the last for this first part discussion. So let's see each other again on the next part discussion for the post test of On Your Math Gets It Go. Thank you for watching.